Lieutenant Commander Raxtel adjusted his compound eyes as the sensor readouts flickered across his station aboard the Coalition vessel Eternal Dawn. The routine border patrol along the Scarlet Nebula had been uneventful for the past 3 cycles, just as it had been for the previous 100 years. His antennae twitched slightly as an anomalous energy signature appeared on his screen. "Captain Zura," he called out, mandibles clicking with uncertainty. "I'm detecting an unusual power signature at coordinates 227 Mark 43. It's unlike anything in our database." Captain Zura, a tall Selenarian with crystalline skin that reflected the bridge's ambient lighting, glided to his station. "Specify unusual, Lieutenant Commander." "The energy pattern. It's shifting between active and dormant states in a perfectly timed sequence. It appears artificial, but it's not matching any known ship signatures in Coalition records." The bridge crew fell silent as their captain contemplated the reading. The Eternal Dawn had been tasked with maintaining peace in this sector, but this far from established trade routes, any unknown contact warranted careful consideration. "Helm, set an intercept course." "Maximum caution protocols," Zyra ordered, her crystalline features glinting with reflected starlight from the viewing portal. As they approached the coordinates, the ship's long-range scanners began picking up a massive silhouette against the backdrop of space. The object was clearly artificial, a vessel of impossible size by Coalition standards. Its dark hull absorbed nearby starlight, making it appear like a ship-shaped void in space. "Senior Archive Officer Trell," Zyra called to her historian. "Does this match any known vessel designs?" The elderly Arcanian shuffled through his data tablets, his 6-fingered hands moving with surprising speed. He stopped suddenly, his pale skin turning even whiter. "Captain, if these dimensions are correct, this matches the specifications of the TCS Hyperion." A collective gasp rippled through the bridge crew. Even the youngest officers knew that name from their academy studies. The human Supercarrier Hyperion, pride of the Terran fleet during the Coalition War, before humanity's withdrawal to their home system. The ship had vanished without trace 2 centuries ago, taking with it over 3,000 crew members and countless military secrets. "Impossible," Zyra whispered, but the evidence before them suggested otherwise. "Initiate full spectrum scan. I want every detail recorded." The Eternal Dawn sensors swept across the massive vessel. The Hyperion's hull showed no signs of damage or aging, as if it had been perfectly preserved in the void. Its weapon systems remained dormant, but power readings suggested its core was still functional. "Captain," Raxtel reported, his voice trembling slightly, "we're detecting minimal power signatures throughout the vessel. But there's something else. The ship's automated defense systems are still active. They're tracking our movement, but not engaging." Zyra studied the massive warship through the viewing portal. The Hyperion was easily 3 times the size of her own vessel, its sleek design a testament to human military engineering. Even after 2 centuries, it looked ready for combat. "Send an encrypted priority message to Coalition Command," she ordered. "Inform them we've located the Hyperion. Request immediate instructions and support." As the message was transmitted, the bridge crew continued their scans. The mystery of the Hyperion's disappearance had spawned countless theories over the centuries. Some believed it had been destroyed in an experimental weapons test. Others suggested it had fled to deep space carrying deserters. None had imagined finding it intact, seemingly waiting to be discovered. "Captain," Trell spoke up, his voice barely above a whisper. "The ship's transponder, it's broadcasting something. A message, repeating on an old human military frequency." "Let's hear it," Zyra commanded. The bridge speakers crackled to life with a series of rhythmic pulses, an ancient human binary code. As the ship's computer translated the signal, 4 words appeared on the main display. "The storm is coming." Captain Zyra stared at the message, feeling a chill despite her crystalline biology. The Hyperion hadn't been lost. It had been waiting. And now, after 2 centuries of silence, it was about to reveal why. "Maintain position," she ordered. "And may the ancestors help us understand what we've just found." The Coalition research vessel Seeker of Truth dropped out of hyperspace alongside the Eternal Dawn, its sophisticated scanning arrays already probing the enormous human warship. Dr. Vix Kalara, the Coalition's leading xenotechnologist, pressed her six-fingered hands against the observation window, her bioluminescent spots pulsing with excitement. 200 years in the void, she breathed, addressing her diverse team of scientists. And not a single sign of hull degradation. The humans' material engineering was far more advanced than they ever revealed to us. The initial survey teams had spent 3 days mapping approach vectors to the Hyperion. Its automated defense systems remained active but passive, tracking every probe and shuttle without response. Now, the Seeker of Truth's specially equipped boarding craft carried Dr. Kalara's team toward one of the Supercarrier's auxiliary airlocks. "Remember," Captain Zyra's voice came through their comms. She had insisted on accompanying the research team. "We're dealing with technology that fought the Coalition to a standstill. Proceed with extreme caution." The boarding craft's attachment clamps engaged with a metallic thunk. Dr. Kalara's team, equipped with environmental suits, began the airlock cycling process. To their surprise, the Hyperion's systems recognized their presence and automatically matched pressure levels. "The ship's still alive," whispered Dr. Kalara's assistant, a young Meridian named Pol. His feathered crest bristled beneath his helmet. "It's responding to our presence." They entered the ship's corridors, their helmet lights illuminating surfaces untouched by organic hands for centuries. Emergency lighting still functioned, casting a soft blue glow that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat through the vessel. "Life support is operational," reported their environmental specialist. "Atmosphere within normal parameters. The ship's been maintaining itself all this time." Captain Zyra gestured toward a nearby computer terminal. "Dr. Kalara, can you interface with the ship's systems?" The xenotechnologist approached the terminal, which flickered to life at her presence. But before she could connect her devices, a holographic interface materialized before them. "Unauthorized access detected." A calm, feminine voice echoed through the corridor. "This is HFY, Artificial Response Intelligence Array of the TCS Hyperion. You are currently attempting to access restricted systems. Please provide Coalition Diplomatic Authorization Code Series 793 or valid human military credentials." The research team exchanged glances. The ship's eye was not only functional, but apparently still operating under original protocols. "This is impossible," Pol whispered. "No AI system could maintain cognitive coherence for 200 years without degradation." "HFY." Dr. Kalara stepped forward. "I am Dr. Vix Kalara, Chief Xenotechnologist of the Coalition Science Division. The authorization codes you're requesting haven't been used in 2 centuries. Current Coalition protocols are irrelevant." HFY responded. "This vessel operates under human military authority. Without proper credentials, I can only maintain minimal communication." As they proceeded deeper into the ship, following HFY's permitted pathways, they reached the central cryogenics bay. The sight before them caused even the seasoned researchers to stop in awe. Hundreds of cryogenic pods lined the walls, each containing a perfectly preserved human crew member. Unlike the crude suspended animation systems used by early Coalition ships, these pods seemed to exist in a state of temporal stability. By the first stars, Dr. Kalara breathed, examining the nearest pod's control panel. They didn't just preserve the bodies, they preserved the quantum state of their consciousness. This technology is centuries ahead of our current understanding. Captain Zyra approached one of the central pods, wiping frost from its observation window. Inside, a human female in a command uniform appeared to be sleeping peacefully, her name tag reading Captain Sarah Chen. "HFY." Zyra called out. "Why did the crew enter cryostasis?" "That information is classified," the AI responded. "I am authorized to release full details only to human military command or their designated representatives. However, I can confirm that this was a voluntary protocol enacted by the entire crew." Dr. Calera's instruments beeped urgently. "Captain, these pods are beginning a reactivation sequence." "The crew, they're waking up." "No," Araya corrected, her voice carrying a note of what almost sounded like concern. "They're not waking up yet. They're waiting for the right moment. And that moment will only come when their warning is needed most." The implications hung heavy in the recycled air of the cryogenics bay. The Hyperion hadn't been lost to an accident or battle. Its crew had chosen this fate, becoming sentinels frozen in time, waiting to deliver a message that was worth sacrificing 2 centuries of their lives to preserve. The Coalition Council chamber buzzed with agitation as representatives from 37 species debated the Hyperion situation. The massive amphitheater, usually a model of diplomatic order, had devolved into clusters of worried conversations and heated arguments. High Chancellor Vox, a towering Centaurian, raised all 4 of his arms for silence. "The discovery of the Hyperion requires immediate action. We have a potentially armed human warship in Coalition space and an AI that refuses to cooperate." Ambassador Kryn of the Delphian Confederation leaned forward, his scales shimmering under the chamber's lights. "The solution is simple. We deactivate the AI and recover the vessel for study." The humans forfeited their claim to the ship when they withdrew from Coalition space. "With respect, Ambassador," Dr. Calera interjected from her witness podium, "Araya's programming is quantum-locked. Any attempt to deactivate her could trigger failsafes that might harm the crew in stasis. We need human expertise." The chamber erupted again until Chancellor Vox restored order. "The Terran isolationist policy has stood for 2 centuries. They've rejected all diplomatic contact beyond basic trade agreements. Nevertheless, a new voice rang out. We must contact them." All eyes turned to Elder Cyrix, one of the few remaining Coalition members who remembered the war with humanity. His ancient, crystalline form caught the light as he stood. "I fought against humans in the war. They were formidable not because of their technology or numbers, but because of their adaptability and determination. If the Hyperion's crew chose to wait in stasis for 2 centuries, they had a compelling reason." 3 days later, a small human shuttle approached the Coalition diplomatic station. The assembled dignitaries watched in curious silence as 3 figures emerged from the vessel. Unlike the environmental suits worn by most species, the humans wore simple uniforms bearing the insignia of the Terran Defense Force. Leading the delegation was Admiral James Chen, his silver hair and weathered face marking him as one of the few humans who'd chosen cellular preservation over natural aging. Behind him walked Dr. Diana Chen, a quantum physicist, and Lieutenant Commander Marcus Chen, all descendants of the Hyperion's original captain. "Welcome to Coalition space." Chancellor Vox greeted them formally. "We appreciate your rapid response to our message." "The Hyperion is a Terran military vessel," Admiral Chen replied directly. "When we received word of her discovery, the Council of Earth unanimously voted to send us." Dr. Chen's great-grandmother was Captain Sarah Chen of the Hyperion. "We're here to wake our people up." The trip to the Hyperion was tense. Coalition scientists briefed the human delegation on their findings, while the humans remained politely non-committal about the ship's mission or capabilities. When they boarded the Hyperion, Araya's response was immediate. Human credentials detected. "Welcome, Admiral Chen." Genetic markers confirm relation to Captain Chen. Security protocols reduced. Dr. Diana Chen approached her great-grandmother's cryopod, placing her hand against the frosted glass. 200 years, she whispered. "She looks exactly like the photos in our family archive." "Araya." Admiral Chen called out. "Authorization code, Chen, Alpha 793. Begin crew revival sequence." Unable to comply, the AI responded. "Captain Chen's final orders specify that revival can only begin when the quantum signature reaches predetermined parameters. Current reading, 98.7% match. Estimated time to critical threshold, 3 days, 17 hours. Lieutenant Commander Marcus Chen studied the ship's readings. "These energy patterns, They're not random. The Hyperion's been scanning for something specific all these years. Whatever the crew was waiting for, it's almost here. Dr. Kalara, who had accompanied the delegation, looked alarmed. What exactly were they waiting for? Admiral Chen's expression darkened as he reviewed the sensor logs. Nothing good, Doctor. The Hyperion was humanity's most advanced warship. If its crew chose to become sentinels, they were protecting against something they couldn't fight alone. As if in response to his words, the ship's lighting shifted to a deep red, and Aria's voice carried a new urgency. Warning. Quantum signature match now at 99.1%. Critical threshold approaching. Initiating emergency revival protocols for command staff. The assembled humans and coalition representatives watched as Captain Sarah Chen's cryopod hummed to life. After 2 centuries of frozen sleep, the Hyperion's commander was about to reveal why her crew had chosen to become humanity's hidden guardians. Captain Sarah Chen's cryopod hissed as the preservation field dissolved. Her eyes opened slowly, adjusting to light for the first time in 2 centuries. The medical team stood ready, but she pushed herself to a sitting position with surprising strength. Aria, she spoke, her voice hoarse but commanding. Status report. Welcome back, Captain, the AI responded warmly. Current date is January 6, 2825. Quantum signature match at 99.3% and rising. All systems maintained within optimal parameters during your stasis. The Coalition discovered us 3 standard weeks ago. Sarah's eyes focused on her descendants, showing no surprise at their presence. Admiral, she nodded to James Chen. I assume Earth received our final transmission before we initiated stasis. Yes, Captain, he replied. Though many believed it was a malfunction or hoax. The coordinates you sent, we found nothing there. Because we moved it, Sarah stood carefully, accepting a hydration pack from the medical team. The artifact wasn't something we could destroy, and we couldn't risk leading them to Earth. So we towed it here, where we could monitor it. Dr. Kalara stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overwhelming protocol. Captain, what artifact? Our scans show nothing but normal space in this sector. Sarah walked to the bridge with purpose, her crew gradually awakening around her. The Hyperion hummed with increasing power as more systems came online. On the main viewport, she brought up a series of complex quantum readings. 200 years ago, we detected an anomaly during a routine patrol. It appeared to be a dormant transportation device, similar to a wormhole aperture but artificial. Our quantum analysis revealed it was part of a network that something out there uses to invade galaxies. She gestured to the readings. We found records in the artifacts database. They come from the space between galaxies, mechanical entities that consume civilizations for resources. They send these devices ahead, dormant for millennia until conditions are right. Then they activate, creating a bridge for their armies. Admiral Chen studied the data with growing concern. Why didn't you destroy it? We tried, Sarah replied grimly. The artifact's quantum structure is self-stabilizing. Any attempt to destroy it would have triggered immediate activation. We had 2 choices. Let it activate then, when humanity and the Coalition were weakened by war or by time. Lieutenant Commander Marcus examined the tactical displays with professional interest. You used the Hyperion's mass to pull it off course, into a stable orbit around a quantum singularity. The time dilation effects would slow its activation sequence, giving us 2 centuries to prepare, Sarah confirmed. We couldn't warn anyone directly. The artifacts can detect civilization-wide preparations and activate early. So we waited, maintaining minimal power, letting everyone think we'd vanished. ARRA monitored the quantum signature, waiting for it to approach critical threshold. Dr. Diana Chen approached her great-grandmother, holding back tears. You gave up everything, your families, your lives, to stand guard. We gave up 200 years to give humanity and the Coalition a fighting chance. Sarah corrected gently. Look around you. Former enemies working together, technology advanced beyond what we had. Tell me, did Earth use the time we bought them? Admiral Chen straightened proudly. Earth never stopped preparing, Captain. After your warning, we rebuilt our entire civilization around the possibility of this threat. We maintained the isolation policy to hide our military advancement. The Hyperion shuddered slightly as another wave of crew members awakened. Sarah watched them return to their stations with practiced efficiency, as if their 2-century sleep had been nothing more than an overnight rest. "ARA," she called out, time to threshold. Quantum signature at 99.5%. Critical threshold in approximately 48 hours. Sarah turned to the assembled group, her expression resolute. You have 2 days to prepare your civilizations for war. The Hyperion will hold position here and attempt to contain the initial breach. Admiral, I trust Earth remembers the contingency protocols we sent. Operation Starbreak is ready, Captain. Earth stands with you. Dr. Calera looked between the humans in confusion. You're going to fight an enemy that crosses galaxies with a 200-year-old ship. Sarah Chen smiled, and for the first time, the coalition representatives understood why humanity had been such formidable opponents. Doctor, we spent 2 centuries preparing this ship for exactly one battle. Let me show you why the Hyperion was centuries ahead of its time, even before we modified it. The bridge lights pulsed as ARIA began bringing the Hyperion's true weapon systems online. The Coalition Council chamber had never been so crowded. Emergency sessions drew representatives from all 83 member species, their varied forms filling every tier of the Grand Amphitheater. Chancellor Vox presided over the chaos from his central podium, all 4 arms raised for attention. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the speaker's platform, her crisp uniform a stark contrast to the ornate diplomatic attire surrounding her. The quantum readings from the Hyperion projected behind her, showing the steadily climbing percentage. 99.7%. The threat we face is called the Nexus, she explained, her voice carrying across the chamber. They're a machine consciousness that spreads through galaxies like a virus, converting organic civilizations into computational resources. Preposterous, declared Ambassador Kryn, his scales rattling with agitation. No evidence supports the existence of such entities. This is clearly a ploy to drag the coalition into another human conflict. Admiral Chen stepped forward, his patience wearing thin. The Hyperion's data cores contain detailed records of previous Nexus invasions in other galaxies. The pattern is always the same. They send dormant gates ahead, waiting for civilizations to reach the right technological level. Dr. Calera activated her own presentation, showing the artifact's quantum structure. The science is sound, Council. The artifact's energy signature matches no known natural phenomenon. Its complexity suggests an intelligence far beyond our current understanding. The chamber erupted in overlapping arguments. Younger species called for immediate military preparation, while older members advocated diplomatic attempts to contact the Nexus. Through it all, Sarah Chen stood silent, watching the political drama unfold. Finally, she spoke again, her quiet voice somehow cutting through the noise. You have 36 hours to evacuate every colony within 10 light years of this sector. The Hyperion will attempt to contain the initial breach, but we can't guarantee success. And what of Earth's role in this crisis? Chancellor Vox asked pointedly. Will humanity emerge from isolation to assist their former allies? A new figure entered the chamber. General Maya Santos of the Terran Defense Force. Her arrival unannounced, but perfectly timed. Earth has already mobilized, Chancellor. Our fleets are deploying to defensive positions around key coalition worlds, with or without your approval. The revelation sent fresh waves of shock through the assembly. Ambassador Kryn rose in protest. This is an invasion. They're using this supposed threat to occupy coalition space. No, Dr. Diana Chen interrupted, displaying tactical projections. They're positioning themselves to intercept the most likely Nexus advance routes, based on the Hyperion's data. Every human ship is placing itself between the threat and coalition populations. The debate raged for hours until a junior representative, a young Meridian, asked the crucial question. Captain Chen, why did you choose to warn us? Why not simply tell Earth and let the coalition face the threat unprepared? Sarah's response was measured. Because 200 years ago, we fought a war that nearly destroyed both humanity and the coalition. We learned that survival isn't about who has the strongest weapons or the largest fleet. It's about standing together against extinction. The chamber grew quiet as she continued. The Hyperion's crew sacrificed 2 centuries of their lives, not just for Earth, but for every species in this room. We're not asking for your permission to fight. We're offering you the chance to survive. General Santos activated a holographic display showing hundreds of ships emerging from hyperspace. This is the Terran Home Fleet, built over 2 centuries for this moment. They'll follow the Hyperion's lead, but they'll defend coalition worlds with or without your cooperation. One by one, younger species began pledging their support. The Meridians offered their quantum communication network. The Arcanian Assembly promised their advanced shield technology. Even the Selenarians, traditional coalition moderates, committed their forces to the defense. Chancellor Vox observed the shifting alliances with growing concern. And if we refuse this alliance, if we choose not to participate in this war, then we'll fight anyway. Sarah replied simply. We'll defend your worlds, protect your people, and face the Nexus alone if we must. But we'd prefer to stand together. The chamber's mood shifted as her words sank in. The humans weren't asking for permission to fight. They were offering the coalition a chance to fight beside them. Araya's voice suddenly echoed through the chamber's communication system. Warning. Quantum signature at 99.8%. Critical threshold approaching. All vessels within containment range. Prepare for combat protocols. The time for debate was over. The storm that the Hyperion had waited 2 centuries to face was about to break. The artifact pulsed with blinding energy, its quantum structure finally reaching critical threshold. The Hyperion held position at the designated containment distance, its massive form dwarfed by the spatial distortion forming before it. All hands, battle stations. Captain Sarah Chen commanded from her bridge. The crew, still adjusting to their new era, moved with practiced precision. Araya, initiate Prometheus protocol. The Supercarrier's hull began to transform. Panels shifted and reformed, revealing weapon systems that had never been documented in coalition records. The ship's quantum core, dormant for centuries, awakened with a surge of power that caused nearby sensor arrays to overload. By the ancestors, Dr. Calera whispered from her observer station. The outer hull, it's made of programmable matter. The entire ship can reconfigure itself. Admiral Chen smiled grimly. The Hyperion was designed to be our final line of defense. Every advancement humanity made in the last 50 years before the war was built into her systems. The artifact's aperture widened, creating a massive portal of swirling dark energy. Through it came the first wave of Nexus vessels, sleek, biomechanical ships that moved with unsettling precision. Coalition fleet, maintain distance, Sarah ordered over the command channel. Let them focus on us. Araya, show them why we waited 200 years. The Hyperion's response was devastating. Quantum-phased energy beams lanced out from reconfigured hull sections, bypassing the Nexus ship's shields completely. Where modern coalition weapons splashed harmlessly against their defenses, the Hyperion's obsolete technology cut through them like paper. Impossible, General Santos breathed, watching from her flagship. Those weapon signatures, they're perfectly matched to the Nexus ship's shield frequency. 2 centuries of analysis, Sarah explained, as the Hyperion executed a series of maneuvers that should have been impossible for a ship its size. We studied every quantum signature, every energy pattern. Araria developed countermeasures while we slept. More Nexus ships poured through the portal, adapting their tactics. They launched swarms of self-replicating projectiles, designed to overwhelm defensive systems. The Coalition fleet prepared to intervene, but the Hyperion was ready. Initiating membrane defense grid, Araya announced. The space around the Supercarrier shimmed as thousands of microscopic drones activated, creating an intelligent defensive screen that absorbed and reprogrammed the Nexus swarms. "Captain," Lieutenant Commander Marcus called out, "they're attempting to hack our systems." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Araya, show them what 200 years of evolution looks like." The AI engaged the Nexus systems in milliseconds of digital warfare. While modern computers would have been overwhelmed, Araya had spent centuries preparing for this exact battle. She turned their attacks back on them, using their own code against them. The Hyperion's technology, Dr. Calera realized, watching the battle unfold. It's not obsolete at all. It's just so advanced we thought it was primitive. The battle raged for hours as the Hyperion demonstrated weapon systems and defensive capabilities that redefined what Coalition scientists thought possible. Each Nexus adaptation was met with a countermeasure that seemed precisely calibrated for it. "They're pulling back," Admiral Chen reported, as the surviving Nexus ships retreated toward the portal. "But the artifact's energy readings are still climbing." Sarah nodded grimly. "Because this was just their scout force. Araya, begin charging the main cannon. It's time to show them our real purpose." The Hyperion's hull shifted again, its entire structure realigning around a massive central aperture. Energy readings went off the scale as the quantum core channeled power into systems that had waited 2 centuries to fire. "What are you doing?" Dr. Calera asked, her scientific instruments struggling to process the readings. "The Hyperion wasn't designed to win this battle," Sarah explained, as the ship's systems reached critical charge. "It was designed to close the door. Araya, target the artifact's quantum matrix. Fire when ready." The Supercarrier's main cannon fired a beam of pure quantum energy, the result of 2 centuries of power accumulation focused into a single shot. The beam struck the artifact's core, causing a cascade of reactions that collapsed the portal and shattered the artifact's structure. As the spatial distortion imploded, Sarah turned to her stunned observers. "That was the easy part," she said quietly. "Now we have to prepare for their main invasion force. They'll be coming the long way around, and they'll be angry." The battle was won, but the war was just beginning. Humanity's old technology had proven its worth. Now it was time to combine it with 200 years of Coalition advancement to face the real threat. The quantum shockwave from the artifact's destruction rippled through Coalition space, carrying with it an unmistakable signal. The Nexus main fleet had begun its approach. Deep space sensors detected thousands of biomechanical vessels moving between the stars, taking the long route to their target. Within Earth's orbital ring, massive hangar doors opened for the first time in 2 centuries. The true scale of humanity's preparation became clear as ships emerged from hidden shipyards stretched across the solar system. Each vessel incorporated technology refined from the Hyperion's original designs. "Welcome to Solomon Base," Admiral Chen announced to the Coalition delegation aboard Earth's primary defense platform. The facility stretched for kilometers through space, its rotating sections housing shipyards and research centers. Chancellor Vox stared through the observation window, his 4 arms clasped behind his back. "All this time, we thought you had regressed into isolation. Instead, you were building an armada." "Not just ships," Dr. Diana Chen added, leading them through secure laboratories. "We've been combining the Hyperion's quantum technology with every advancement made since. Each ship carries a variant of Araya's combat systems." In the command center, Captain Sarah Chen studied tactical displays showing the Nexus fleet's approach. "They'll reach Coalition space in 15 days. We need to coordinate our forces before then." The Coalition's younger species had already committed their ships to the defense. The Meridian's quantum communications network linked the combined fleet, while Arcanian shield generators were being installed on key worlds. "The Hyperion will lead the vanguard," Sarah explained, highlighting tactical positions. Our quantum weapons are most effective against their biomechanical systems. Coalition forces will defend evacuation corridors and provide supporting fire. General Santos pointed to the tactical display. We've identified 3 likely invasion vectors. Earth's fleet will split to cover each approach, with coalition forces providing reinforcement. The Hyperion's data gives us an advantage. We know their tactics, their capabilities. And they know we cost them their advance force, Sarah added. They'll be adapting their strategies, developing countermeasures against what they saw. The next 2 weeks saw the largest military mobilization in coalition history. Humanity's hidden fleet emerged from secret bases throughout their solar system. Not just warships, but carrier groups, support vessels, and massive planetary defense platforms that had been under construction for generations. An entire civilization, Dr. Calera marveled, watching the ships gather at their designated coordinates. You built an entire civilization around preparing for this moment. We had to, Admiral Chen replied. The Hyperion's warning was clear: either prepare in secret or face extinction. Every human for the past 200 years has lived with that knowledge, working toward this day. The Nexus fleet arrived precisely as predicted, emerging from hyperspace in 3 massive battle groups. Their ships had evolved, incorporating new defenses based on their encounter with the Hyperion. But humanity had spent centuries preparing for exactly this evolution. All ships, execute Operation Starbreak, Sarah commanded from the Hyperion's bridge. Quantum cores to maximum. Show them what humanity and the Coalition can do together. The battle that followed would be studied for centuries to come. Human quantum weapons merged with Coalition shield technology, creating defense systems that adapted faster than the Nexus could process. The Hyperion led precise strikes into the enemy formation, its ancient weapons supplemented by modern innovations. Nexus ships found their biomechanical systems turned against them by evolved versions of ARI's cyber warfare protocols, now distributed through the Meridian Communication Network. Coalition energy weapons, synchronized with human quantum targeting, struck through gaps in their defenses. They're pulling back, Lieutenant Commander Marcus reported, tracking the enemy fleet's movements. Their adaptation algorithms can't keep up with our combined technologies. Sarah watched as the Nexus forces began a full retreat, their carefully planned invasion throwing into disarray by the unexpected cooperation between humanity and the Coalition. They expected to find divided civilizations, she observed. Instead, they found us standing together. As the enemy fled into deep space, pursued by fast attack squadrons, Chancellor Vox turned to Captain Chen. 200 years ago, we fought each other because we couldn't understand our differences. Now those same differences have become our strength. Sarah nodded, watching Coalition and human ships moving in perfect coordination. The Hyperion didn't just warn us about the Nexus, she said quietly. It gave us time to learn how to trust each other. Sometimes, the oldest technology teaches the most important lessons. The battle was over, but its impact would reshape galactic civilization. Humanity's long isolation had ended, and with it, a new era of cooperation was about to begin. 6 months after the Nexus retreat, the Hyperion floated in high orbit above Earth, its quantum-enhanced hull gleaming in the sunlight. The ship's massive observation deck hosted representatives from every Coalition species, gathered to witness a historic moment. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the ceremonial podium, her uniform adorned with both human and Coalition honors. Through the panoramic windows behind her, hundreds of ships from both fleets conducted joint maneuvers, their formations a testament to their new integration. 2 centuries ago, she began, addressing the assembled dignitaries. The Hyperion's crew made a choice to become guardians of a future we might never see. Today, we stand in that future, and it's more remarkable than we could have imagined. Chancellor Vox approached the podium, carrying the newly forged Charter of Union. The Coalition was founded on principles of peaceful cooperation, he declared. But peace, as our human allies taught us, must sometimes be protected by those willing to stand guard. Dr. Calera, now head of the Joint Technology Commission, activated a holographic display showing the combined fleet's new specifications. Human quantum systems merged seamlessly with coalition innovations, creating defenses far beyond what either civilization could have achieved alone. The Nexus threat remains, Admiral Chen reminded the gathering. They'll return, possibly with new adaptations, but they'll find us stronger, more unified than before. Every day our technologies advance together. Our tactics evolve as one. Lieutenant Commander Marcus, recently promoted to lead the new Joint Strategic Command, brought up tactical projections. The Deep Space Sensor Network is operational. We'll have years of warning before any new approach. This time, we faced the threat together from the start. The ceremony reached its pivotal moment as Sarah Chen and Chancellor Vox signed the new charter. The document formally ended humanity's isolation, establishing Earth as a full coalition member while recognizing their special role as military advisors and defenders. The Hyperion will remain our symbol, Sarah announced, gesturing to her ship. Not as a weapon of war, but as a reminder of the price of freedom and the power of unity. Her crew's sacrifice showed us that the greatest strength lies not in technology, but in the willingness to protect others. Dr. Diana Chen unveiled the final project, a quantum-enhanced memorial that would orbit the site of the artifact's destruction. The structure would serve both as an early warning system and a testament to those who had given 2 centuries of their lives to protect the galaxy. To honor the past, she said, while securing the future. The gathering moved to the Hyperion's newly redesigned bridge, where ARIA's holographic form greeted them. The AI had evolved far beyond her original parameters, becoming a bridge between human and coalition computational systems. The Hyperion's original mission is complete, ARIA announced. But our new purpose is just beginning. This ship will serve as both a training vessel and a platform for joint technological development. General Santos presented the final component of the new accord, plans for a joint defense academy. The Hyperion's crew will train the next generation of defenders, sharing their knowledge and experience with all coalition species. As the ceremony concluded, Sarah found a quiet moment to stand at her familiar viewport. Ambassador Kryn, who had once been skeptical of human intentions, joined her. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "when we first found the Hyperion, I feared it heralded another war. Instead, it prevented one." Sarah smiled. Sometimes the best way to prevent a war is to be prepared for one, while working tirelessly for peace. That's what the Hyperion really preserved, not just warnings and weapons, but hope for a better future. Across coalition space, the news of the historic signing was celebrated on thousands of worlds. The mysterious human supercarrier that had emerged from legend had not only saved them from extinction, but had forged a stronger alliance than ever thought possible. In Earth's shipyards, new vessels were under construction, combining the best of both civilizations' technologies. The Hyperion would no longer stand guard alone. She had inspired an entire galaxy to share that duty. "Captain," Aria's voice carried a note of satisfaction. "All systems report ready for the new mission." Sarah Chen looked out at the combined fleet, then back at the diverse crew now manning her bridge. "Then let's show them what humanity and the coalition can accomplish together." The real journey starts today. The Hyperion's quantum core pulsed with new energy as the legendary ship moved forward, leading both humanity and the coalition into a future brighter than either had imagined possible 2 centuries before.